Hey guys, tonight we're taking a deep dive, or perhaps more accurately, a gentle drift, into a world that existed thousands of years ago, a place where the sun rose with a purpose and every breath was in tune with the earth. Imagine waking up to a world utterly devoid of screens, notifications, or the insistent hum of modern life. This is the ancient kingdom of Kush, and let me tell you, while it sounds idyllic, you probably won't survive the first week without your trusty smartphone and a decent coffee shop. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And as always, let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stir slowly, reluctantly, on a sleeping mat woven from reeds, the rough texture a familiar pressure against your skin. There's no alarm clock here, just a subtle shift in the light filtering through the small opening of your dwelling, and the faint, persistent chirping of a persistent bird outside. It's still cool, the pre-dawn air carrying the damp scent of earth and something else, something green and alive, a promise of the day to come. Your muscles, accustomed to a life of physical labor, already anticipate the quiet demands of the morning. There's no hitting the snooze button in ancient Kush, my friends. The sun is a very insistent, non-snoozable friend. As your eyes adjust, you take in the simple, sturdy walls of your home, crafted from sun-baked mud bricks that have stood strong through countless seasons. The roof, probably a lattice of palm fronds and mud, provides a cool sanctuary from the eventual heat. This isn't exactly a five-star resort, but it's home, built by hands just like yours, a testament to the simple, practical wisdom of your ancestors. You push yourself up, the reed mat rustling beneath you, and stretch, feeling the stiffness ease from your limbs. Your morning routine is less about checking emails and more about preparing for the day's fundamental truth: the land calls. You step outside, into the nascent light, and the world slowly unveils itself. The sky is a canvas of soft mauves and oranges, bleeding into a pale, promising blue. The air is crisp, carrying the distant bleat of a goat, the soft lowing of cattle, and the faint, rhythmic sound of a pestle hitting a mortar from a nearby hut, someone already grinding grain for the morning meal. There's no rush, no hurried traffic, no blaring music. Just the gentle symphony of a community slowly waking with the sun. It's so quiet, you can almost hear the plants growing. Almost. Your bare feet meet the cool, packed earth of the village path, a path worn smooth by generations of feet just like yours. You pause, taking a deep, conscious breath. The scent of damp soil is stronger here, mingled with the faint, sweet smell of green things. And as your gaze sweeps across the landscape, your identity, your very existence, begins to click into place. You are a farmer. You are Kushite. And this fertile land, stretching out before you as far as the eye can see, is not just where you live, it is who you are. This isn't some abstract concept, it's a profound, tangible truth. The land isn't merely property, it's the provider, the sustainer, the very foundation of your life. You see the rich, dark soil, still holding the dew of the night, promising bounty. The fields, laid out in neat plots, are already hinting at the crops that will soon sprout, grow, and eventually nourish your family and your entire community. There's a deep, quiet satisfaction in this sight, a sense of security rooted in the earth itself. No need for a stock market ticker here. Your wealth is measured in the green shoots emerging from the ground. The ancient kingdom of Kush, also known as Nubia, was a major power south of ancient Egypt, thriving for over 1,000 years and famously ruling Egypt itself for a period as the 25th dynasty. But even during its periods of imperial might, the vast majority of its people, like you, lived a life deeply intertwined with the land. Your daily rhythm, your hopes, your fears, your very future, all are dictated by the health of this soil and the generosity of the great river that flows through it. You haven't even seen the Nile yet, but its presence is palpable, a silent, powerful force shaping the very topography around you, allowing this lushness to exist in what is otherwise a vast, arid region. You walk a few paces from your dwelling, drawn by the pull of the fields. The light is growing stronger now, painting the distant hills a soft ochre. You notice a small, intricate pattern etched into the mud wall of a neighboring hut, a charming, almost whimsical design that speaks to a deeper connection to the natural world. Despite their agricultural focus, many Kushites had small, personal altars or shrines within their homes, often dedicated to local deities or ancestors, a quiet practice often overlooked in grand temple narratives. It's these small, personal touches that remind you of the rich inner lives of the people who lived here, beyond the grand monuments. As you stand there, observing the quiet awakening of your world, a thought might drift through your mind, if you had time for such philosophical musings. How did this all begin? How did your ancestors learn to coax such abundance from this specific stretch of land? Historians still argue whether the early agricultural practices in Kush developed independently or were significantly influenced by Egyptian methods. But for you, the farmer, the method is simply inherited wisdom, passed down through generations, proven by the very existence of your thriving village. It's just how things are done. The morning chill slowly gives way to the sun's warmth, a gentle caress that promises the heat of the day. You can feel the energy building, not with a frantic rush, but with a steady, purposeful momentum. You see other figures emerging from their homes, some carrying simple tools, others leading small groups of children. Everyone has a role, a contribution to make to this quiet, agricultural symphony. There's no concept of a weekend here, no notion of leisure time in the modern sense. Your life is your work, and your work is your life, seamlessly interwoven with the cycles of the sun, the moon, and the land. This profound connection to the earth defines every waking moment. The texture of the soil beneath your fingers, the smell of ripening grain, the feel of the sun on your back as you tend the crops. These are not just sensory experiences. They are the very language of your existence. You are a part of this land, as much as the crops you cultivate. And as the first rays of direct sunlight touch the tops of the distant palm trees, painting their fronds in gold, you know, with a deep, unwavering certainty, that your day, like every day, will be spent in communion with this fertile, life-giving earth. It's time to get to work, because that ancient world breakfast isn't going to make itself, and your morning coffee is, as we discussed, still a few millennia away. Enjoy that natural buzz. As the first sliver of dawn paints the eastern sky, you don't just awaken to the quiet hum of your village. You awaken to the omnipresent, ceaseless whisper of the Nile. It's a sound that's been the soundtrack to your people's existence for millennia, a deep, rhythmic sigh that permeates every fiber of your being. You can feel its cool breath on the air, even before you step outside your mud brick home. It's not just a river, it's the very artery of life in this land, a colossal, benevolent serpent coiling through the vast, unforgiving desert, dictating every single pulse of your agricultural community. Imagine, for a moment, if your entire year, your very survival, revolved around a single, utterly predictable, yet overwhelmingly powerful natural event. For us, here in ancient Kush, that event is the annual inundation of the Nile. It's like the universe's most reliable alarm clock, but instead of waking you up for work, it brings life itself. You don't need a fancy calendar or a smartphone app to tell you when the seasons are changing. The river tells you. Its rise and fall are the hands of your cosmic clock, marking the passage of time, the rhythm of your work, and even the very breath you take. You step out, and the first thing your eyes seek is the river. Its surface, shimmering now with the nascent light, reflects the sky, a vast, moving mirror. You've grown up with it, of course, just like your parents and their parents before them. But even now, its sheer scale can humble you. This isn't some trickle you can easily dam or divert with a few rocks. This is the Nile, a force of nature so profound it feels almost sentient. It's a bit like having a very opinionated, immensely powerful, and incredibly generous landlord who decides when to water your garden and when to hold back. And you, dear farmer, are utterly at its mercy, or rather, at its grace. The fertile black soil beneath your bare feet, rich and loamy, is a direct gift from the Nile. Each year, as the river swells with the waters from the distant Ethiopian highlands, a journey so long and arduous, it's almost mythical, it carries with it a precious cargo, fine dark silt. When the floodwaters gently recede, they leave behind this nutrient-rich deposit, a natural fertilizer that rejuvenates the land without fail. It's like the Nile is constantly sending you a care package, packed with all the vitamins and minerals your crops could ever dream of. You never have to worry about soil depletion in the same way folks in other lands might. The river does the heavy lifting for you, year after year. It's truly incredible. This annual flood, known as Akhet, isn't just a natural phenomenon, it's a profound, spiritual event. You watch for its signs with bated breath, knowing that a good flood means abundance, and a poor one, well, you try not to think about that too much. The river begins to swell around July, peaking in September, transforming your neatly parceled fields into a vast, shallow lake. It's a time of waiting, of quiet patience, as the land rests and drinks deeply. Your children, if they're old enough, might splash in the shallows, chasing small fish that have been carried in with the current, or perhaps trying to catch one of the many birds that flock to the temporary wetlands. It's a brief hiatus from the intense labor of farming, a forced vacation where the land itself is doing all the work. You might even joke that the river is just too lazy to deliver the water in a more convenient, less dramatic fashion, choosing instead to make a grand entrance every year. When the waters begin to recede around October, known as Peret, that's when the real work, and the real magic, begins. The land emerges, glistening and slick with fresh silt, perfectly primed for planting. You don't need to plow deeply, the soil is so soft and receptive. You simply scatter your seeds, barley, emmer wheat, perhaps some lentils, and then, with simple tools, cover them lightly. It's an act of faith, really, placing your trust entirely in the river's generosity. This entire cycle, the rise and fall, the deposition of silt, the perfect timing for planting, is why historians still debate the exact methods and scale of water storage and distribution systems employed by Kushite farmers beyond simple shadoofs, particularly in regions further from the immediate riverbanks. How much was pure reliance on the flood, and how much was ingenious human intervention? The truth, as always, is probably a blend of both. Beyond the fertile fields, the Nile is your primary highway. You see simple papyrus skiffs, much like oversized canoes, gliding silently on its surface, laden with goods, or perhaps just a family going to visit relatives downriver. You might even spot a larger wooden boat, its single sail catching the gentle breeze, carrying trade goods from more distant villages. The river's current flows north, which is a quirky but incredibly useful fact for southbound travel. Going south, you'd hoist your sail and let the prevailing winds push you against the current. Going north? You'd simply let the river do all the work, drifting lazily downstream. It's like having a built-in escalator, except it only goes one way, and you still have to paddle to get back up. Talk about a one-way street. The river also provides a constant source of protein. You see fishermen casting their nets from the riverbanks or from small boats, pulling in a surprisingly diverse catch. Tilapia, catfish, perch, these are common sights, adding a vital component to your diet, complementing the grains and vegetables from your fields. The Nile is not just about growing crops, it's a complete ecosystem that sustains you in myriad ways. Its banks are teeming with life, birds nesting in the reeds, hippos occasionally grunting in the deeper pools. Best to keep a respectful distance from them, they're not as cuddly as they look on pottery, and even crocodiles, though you learn early on to be cautious around them. The river gives life, but it demands respect. Even your drinking water comes directly from the Nile. It's filtered naturally by the sand and reeds along the banks, and you learn to scoop it up carefully, avoiding the murkier spots. You wash your clothes in it, bathe in it, and cool yourself on hot afternoons by dipping your feet in its refreshing currents. It's a constant, flowing presence in every aspect of your daily existence, from the food on your plate to the water in your jug. It truly is the lifeblood, the very pulse of your community. Without the Nile, this vibrant, agricultural world you inhabit would simply cease to exist, swallowed by the relentless desert that presses in on either side. So, as you walk towards your fields, the sun now fully risen and warming your skin, you feel a profound connection to this majestic river. It's more than just water and silt. It's the giver of life, the keeper of time, and the silent, powerful force that shapes every single day of your quiet, agricultural life in ancient Kush. Its embrace is absolute, and in that embrace, you find not just sustenance, but meaning. The first whisper of dawn in ancient Kush isn't a jarring alarm or the cacophony of 1,000 distant engines. Instead, it's a slow, tender unfurling, like a sleepy flower reluctantly opening its petals to the sun. You stir on your simple mat, the cool earth beneath you a comforting anchor, and the air, still thick with the night's cool embrace, feels impossibly fresh. There's no snooze button here, no frantic grab for a phone to scroll through endless feeds of other people's perfect mornings. Just the gentle, insistent tug of the coming day, pulling you from the depths of sleep with the softest of hands. Honestly, it's quite refreshing, though I do sometimes miss my triple-shot espresso. You stretch, a long, luxurious unraveling of limbs, feeling the quiet pops and cracks of your joints. Your muscles, accustomed to the rhythmic demands of the fields, are already anticipating the day's labor, but for now, they are pleasantly pliant. The faint, metallic scent of damp earth wafts in through the open doorway of your simple mud brick home, mingling with the last lingering traces of wood smoke from last night's cooking fire. These homes, often round or rectangular, built from locally sourced mud and straw, were surprisingly cool in the heat of the day and retained warmth at night, a design choice historians still debate the precise origins of, but which clearly worked. The earliest sounds are subtle, almost imperceptible. The distant throaty croak of a bullfrog from a nearby water channel, a sound that quickly fades as the sun begins its ascent. Then, the almost imperceptible rustle of dry palm fronds in a gentle morning breeze, a soft rasping whisper that seems to carry the secrets of the night away. You push yourself up, the rough texture of your woven mat leaving faint patterns on your skin. The floor, packed earth, is cool beneath your bare feet, a pleasant shock that quickly dissipates as the warmth of your body begins to infuse it. Outside, the sky is a masterpiece of gradual transformation. From the deepest indigo, it bleeds into shades of soft violet, then rose, and finally a pale, hopeful gold. The stars, which moments ago glittered like scattered jewels, begin to wink out, one by one, surrendering to the encroaching light. You step outside, taking a deep, fortifying breath. The air is crisp, carrying the promise of warmth, but for now, it's a refreshing embrace. A few chickens, ever eager, are already scratching at the hard-packed earth near your hut, their soft clucking a gentle counterpoint to the growing silence of the disappearing night. One particularly ambitious rooster, clearly vying for the village's early bird award, lets out a rather pathetic, half-hearted crow. Bless his little heart, he's trying. Your first task is always the hearth. Inside your home, the embers from last night's fire still glow faintly, a tiny red heart pulsing in the darkness. You carefully gather a few dry twigs, brittle and crackling, and gently coax the embers back to life. A thin wisp of smoke curls upwards, carrying the comforting scent of burning wood. This isn't just about warmth, it's about the very core of your daily existence. This fire will cook your morning meal, provide light, and offer a focal point for your family as they too begin to stir. It's a quiet, almost meditative process, this rekindling, a small act of creation that sets the tone for the day. As the flames grow, casting dancing shadows on the mud brick walls, the rest of your family begins to emerge from their sleeping mats. Your elder child, still rubbing sleep from their eyes, ambles over to help, their small hands surprisingly adept at arranging the kindling. Your spouse, perhaps a little more gracefully, begins the preparation of the morning meal. In ancient Kush, the staple diet revolved around grains like barley, sorghum, and millet, and the morning ritual often involved preparing a simple, nourishing porridge or flatbread. The rhythmic thump-thump-thump of a grinding stone begins to echo from a nearby hut, a sound that will soon be joined by others, creating a slow, percussive symphony across the village. You hear the faint murmurs of neighbors, their voices low and hushed, as they too begin their morning rituals. This communal waking is a profound experience, a shared, unspoken understanding that everyone is moving to the same ancient rhythm. There's no need for loud calls or hurried shouts. The village awakens as one, a collective body stretching and preparing for the day's work. You make your way to the communal well, a short walk from your home. The path is already slightly damp with dew, and your bare feet leave temporary prints in the soft dust. Others are already there, drawing water in clay jars, their movements fluid and practiced. The water, cool and clear, is drawn up using a simple rope and bucket, a method that has served your ancestors for generations. You wash your face, splashing the cool water over your skin, feeling the last vestiges of sleep melt away. It's a simple act, but profoundly refreshing. You might even splash a bit of water on your hair, trying to tame the wildest bits, because even in ancient Kush, bedhead was a thing, though perhaps less documented. As you return, refreshed, the aroma of cooking grain now hangs heavy in the air, a warm, comforting smell that promises sustenance. Your family gathers around the hearth, sharing the simple meal. It's a quiet affair, punctuated by the soft sounds of eating and the occasional shared glance. This shared meal, however humble, is the bedrock of your family unit, the energy source for the day's labor. Everyone partakes, from the youngest child to the eldest grandparent, each contributing to the communal well-being. This emphasis on the family as the primary unit of production and consumption was a cornerstone of Kushite agricultural life, a mainstream historical fact that underscores the interconnectedness of their society. After the meal, the preparations for the fields truly begin. There's no elaborate packing of lunches or checking of emails. Instead, you gather your tools, a simple wooden hoe, perhaps a sharpened digging stick, and a basket for carrying harvested crops or weeds. These tools, crafted with care and passed down through generations, are extensions of your hands, intimately familiar and reliable. You check their edges, ensuring they are ready for the day's demands. Your spouse might gather extra water skins, or prepare small bundles of seeds for planting. The children, even the youngest, have their roles, perhaps helping to carry lighter tools or guiding the family's few goats or sheep towards their grazing areas. The sun is now a visible orb above the horizon, casting long, dramatic shadows across the village. The quiet hum of activity has intensified slightly, but it's still far from a clamor. You hear the lowing of cattle, the bleating of sheep, and the occasional whinny of a donkey, not quite the symphony of a modern city, but a symphony nonetheless. Families begin to emerge from their homes, not individually, but in small groups, heading towards the paths that lead to the communal fields. There's a sense of purpose in their movements, an unspoken understanding of the day's impending work. You join the stream of villagers heading out, greeting your neighbors with a nod or a soft word. There's a quiet camaraderie in this morning exodus, a shared sense of responsibility and interdependence. You might offer a hand to an elderly neighbor struggling with a heavy water jar, or exchange a brief, knowing glance with a fellow farmer about the morning's dew, a silent commentary on the promise of the soil. This quiet, communal start isn't just about getting ready for work, it's about reaffirming the bonds that hold your village together, about ensuring that everyone is seen, everyone is ready, and everyone is part of the collective rhythm of life in ancient Kush. Your morning commute is less about traffic and more about connection, a slow, deliberate walk into the heart of your existence, ready for another cycle of farming under the watchful eye of the rising sun. As the sun climbs higher, painting the eastern sky in hues of soft rose and developing gold, your gaze shifts from the glinting river to the fields that stretch out before you. There's a quiet urgency in the air, a sense that the earth is ready to receive its bounty. You understand this feeling deeply, for your life, and the lives of everyone around you, depend entirely on the soil beneath your bare feet. Today, you're not just tilling dirt, you're preparing the very foundation of your existence. You trudge towards the waiting implements, your feet sinking ever so slightly into the cool, damp earth, still holding the memory of the Nile's recent embrace. The air smells of rich soil and something faintly green, a promise of new growth. Your first companion for the day isn't a person, but a tool, deceptively simple yet profoundly effective, the ard plow. It's not the kind of hulking, multi-bladed behemoth you might see in modern documentaries, slicing deep into the earth. No, this is a scratch plow, a wooden beam with a pointed share, often tipped with a piece of hardened wood or, if you're particularly fortunate, a bit of copper or even iron. It's designed not to invert the soil, but to break it up, creating shallow furrows, stirring the nutrients closer to the surface. Think of it less as a sword through the earth and more like a very determined, very large pencil trying to draw straight lines. You approach the pair of oxen, their broad backs a testament to their strength, their breath steaming gently in the cool morning air. They're hitched to the yard with a simple yoke, custom fitted to their powerful necks. There's a certain intimacy to this relationship, a quiet understanding between human and beast forged over countless seasons. You pat the flank of the lead ox, a sturdy fellow named Kemet, whose name means black land, a fitting tribute to the fertile soil he helps cultivate. His partner, a slightly smaller, more skittish ox named Nile, shifts restlessly, eager to begin, or perhaps just eager for breakfast, depending on his mood. You can almost hear him thinking, "Are we going to do this all day? Because I've got grass to eat later." Guiding the yard is an art form, a dance of balance and pressure. You grip the handles, feeling the vibrations of the earth as the share cuts through it. The sound is a low, rhythmic whisper, a soft tearing, a gentle rumble as the soil parts. It's oddly calming, a natural ASMR track to your ancient workday. You lean into the plow, your muscles straining just enough to feel alive, but not yet exhausted. The oxen, responding to your quiet commands and the subtle tugs on their reins, move forward with a steady, unhurried pace. They know the rhythm of the field as well as you do. This method of plowing, the use of the yard, has been a cornerstone of agriculture across ancient civilizations for millennia, and Kush was no exception. It's a mainstream historical fact that this ingenious, low-tech solution allowed for widespread cultivation, far beyond what could be achieved with mere digging sticks. It's a testament to human ingenuity in adapting simple materials to monumental tasks. You're not just moving dirt, you're participating in a timeless ritual, connecting with generations of farmers who work these very lands. As the art traces its path, it prepares the ground for the staple crops that are the very lifeblood of your community. Here in Kush, the dominant grains aren't wheat or barley, which thrive more in the cooler climes further north, but resilient, heat-loving varieties like millet and sorghum. These grains are incredibly hardy, able to withstand the intense sun and periods of lower rainfall, making them perfectly suited to the Kushite climate. They're your daily bread, your porridge, your sustenance. You also cultivate lentils and various pulses, adding vital protein to your diet and, perhaps unknowingly, enriching the soil. You pause occasionally, letting the oxen rest, wiping the sweat from your brow with the back of your hand. The sun is now a warm presence on your back, slowly heating the earth. You look back at the neat, parallel furrows stretching behind you, a satisfying testament to your morning's labor. There's a subtle, almost imperceptible shift in the quality of the soil as you move through different parts of the field. Some areas are richer, darker, clinging to the plowshare with a satisfying stickiness, while others are lighter, more sandy. It's a constant dialogue with the earth, learning its nuances. Beyond the yard, other simpler tools are essential for preparing the soil. You often begin by clearing the previous season's stubble, sometimes burning it to return nutrients to the earth, a practice that, while effective in the short term, would make a modern agronomist wince at the thought of carbon release. Then come the hoes. Not the broad, flat hose you might be familiar with, but often narrower, pointed versions, made from durable wood or, again, if you're lucky, a copper blade lashed to a sturdy handle. These are used for finer work, for breaking up stubborn clods of earth that the yard missed, for preparing smaller plots for specific vegetables, or for creating the perfect seedbed. It's back-breaking work, bending over for hours, but the precision it allows is invaluable. You often joke that your back knows more about soil composition than your eyes do. There's a quirky tidbit about these hoes. Some archaeologists have found that the design of the Kushite hoe handles, particularly in later periods, seems to have been influenced by Egyptian designs, showing a subtle cultural exchange even in something as mundane as a farm tool. Historians still argue whether this was a direct adoption, an independent evolution, or simply parallel innovation based on similar needs and available materials. It's fascinating to think that even the angle of your hoe handle could spark a scholarly debate millennia later. The process of tilling isn't just about breaking up soil, it's about aeration, about mixing in the rich silt left behind by the Nile's annual flood, and about creating the ideal environment for seeds to germinate. You're essentially fluffing up the earth, making it cozy for the tiny embryos of your future food. After the initial plowing and hoeing, The ground is often left for a short period to allow the sun and air to work their magic, further breaking down the soil structure and drying it slightly before sowing. Sometimes, for smaller, more delicate crops, or in areas where the oxen can't easily maneuver, you resort to the most basic tool of all, the digging stick. It's simply a sharpened piece of wood, sometimes weighted with a stone. You plunge it into the earth, twist, and lever, slowly creating a small hole or breaking up a patch of particularly compacted soil. It's slow, deliberate work, a meditative act that connects you directly to the earth with every thrust. You might hum a quiet tune as you work, the rhythm of the stick matching the cadence of your song. It might not look like much, but it's amazing what you can accomplish with a stick and some elbow grease. Honestly, if you told me a stick would be this important before I came here, I'd have thought you were pulling my leg. As the morning wears on, the furrows grow, extending further and further across the field. The sun is higher now, casting shorter shadows. The air is warmer, carrying the scent of disturbed earth and the faint, sweet smell of the oxen. Your hands, calloused and strong, move with practiced ease over the wooden handles, guiding the plow, feeling the subtle resistance of the soil. You are a living extension of the tools, and the tools an extension of your will. This quiet, repetitive labor is the cornerstone of your quiet life, the essential first step in the grand cycle of growth and harvest that defines your existence in ancient Kush. The ground is ready. The sun, ever present and utterly relentless, has already begun its daily ascent, painting the sky in fiery hues that promise another day of warmth, sometimes too much warmth, frankly. You feel it on your skin, a dry whisper that reminds you, constantly, of the one thing more precious than gold in this land: water. If the Nile is the heart of Kush, then water management is its very pulse, a rhythmic, often backbreaking beat that dictates your survival. You're about to discover that mastering water isn't just a skill here, it's a form of devotion, a daily prayer offered with sweat and ingenuity. You trudge towards the edge of your family plot, where the fields, though not yet parched, are certainly thirsty. The ground, a rich, dark brown, feels warm under your callous feet, but the plants, young and tender, need a drink. This isn't the season for the great flood, so you turn to the ancient, humble workhorse of irrigation, the shadoof. Imagine, if you will, a giant, elegant seesaw. On one end, a heavy counterweight, often a large stone or a basket filled with mud, and on the other, a long pole with a leather bucket or pottery vessel attached. You grab the pole, the wood smooth and worn from generations of hands, and feel the familiar strain in your back and shoulders as you pull it down. With a soft splash, the bucket dips into a shallow ditch fed by a nearby canal, filling with cool, life-giving water. Then, with a grunt, you release the pole, letting the counterweight do its magic, effortlessly lifting the full bucket high. You pivot, swinging the pole over the thirsty field, and tip the bucket, sending a gush of water cascading over the waiting soil. Asterisk splash. Swish. Gush. Asterisk this is your morning cardio, your ancient gym membership, only instead of a protein shake you get, well, more water, eventually. It's surprisingly meditative, the rhythmic creak of the shadoofs pivot, the splash of water, the gentle sigh of the earth drinking its fill. You repeat this motion, again and again, for what feels like hours, your muscles burning, your mind drifting into a trance-like state. It's hard work, yes, but there's a deep satisfaction in seeing the water spread, darkening the soil, knowing that with each bucketful, you are nurturing life. You might even hum a little tune to yourself, because what else are you going to do? Listen to the sound of your own heavy breathing? But the shadoof, while vital for daily maintenance and higher ground, is merely a small player in the grand symphony of Kushite water management. The true conductor, the maestro of this land's fertility, is the Nile itself, and its magnificent, annual flood. For months leading up to it, you live with a quiet anticipation, a collective holding of breath. Then, usually in late summer or early autumn, the river begins to swell. It's not a sudden, destructive deluge, but a gradual, predictable rise, a gentle giant stretching its limbs. This is the mainstream historical fact that defines life here. The Nile's annual inundation, carrying nutrient-rich black silt from the Ethiopian highlands, was the bedrock of agricultural prosperity for millennia, not just for Egypt, but profoundly so for Kush. You remember the elders telling stories of watching the river's color change, from its usual blue-green to a thick, dark brown, almost black, a sign that the fertilizing gifts were on their way. As the waters rise, they spill over the riverbanks, not in a chaotic rush, but in a controlled, almost polite manner, spreading across the carefully prepared basin fields. These basins are ingenious, large, rectangular plots of land, often bordered by low earthen dikes. You and your community have spent weeks before the flood repairing these dikes, ensuring they are strong enough to hold the water and, more importantly, the precious silt. It's like preparing giant, shallow bathtubs for the Nile to fill. When the flood arrives, it's not just water, it's a liquid fertilizer delivery system, courtesy of Mother Nature. The water slows as it enters the basins, allowing the suspended silt to settle, coating the fields in a fresh layer of incredibly fertile topsoil. It's like getting a free, organic soil amendment every single year, ensuring that your land remains productive without the need for complex crop rotation or artificial fertilizers. You can almost hear the earth sighing contentedly as it drinks deeply, absorbing not just the moisture but also the vital nutrients. It's a bit like when you order a pizza and they throw in extra cheese for free. You didn't ask for it, but you're definitely not complaining. Once the floodwaters recede, which they do just as predictably, usually after a month or two, they leave behind not just the nutrient-rich silt, but also a deep reservoir of moisture in the soil. This residual moisture is often enough to sustain a crop through its growing season, especially for cereals like barley and millet. For crops that need more continuous hydration, or for fields further from the river, you rely on a network of simple, hand-dug canals and ditches that divert water from the main river or from the filled basins. These canals are not grand, engineered marvels like some you might hear about in other lands. They are practical, community-maintained arteries, designed to bring water directly to where it's needed most. It's a constant dance with the river, a delicate balance between harnessing its power and protecting your livelihood. You learn to read the river, to anticipate its moods. You observe the water levels, the subtle changes in current. There are even remnants of ancient markers, simple notches on rocks, that help track the rise and fall, passed down through generations. A quirky tidbit about Kushite farmers is that some communities develop specific, localized methods for predicting the flood's intensity, often relying on observations of specific bird migrations or the flowering times of certain desert plants, rather than just the official nilometer readings used by the priests or scribes closer to Meroe. These local signs were deeply integrated into their agricultural calendar. Of course, this mastery isn't without its challenges. Too low a flood means parched fields and poor harvests. Too high a flood can breach your dikes, drowning young plants and washing away precious topsoil. This brings us to a point that historians still debate: the precise role of centralized authority versus local community efforts in managing large-scale irrigation projects in Kush. Was it the king and his officials orchestrating the grand schemes, or was it the collective wisdom and muscle of villages like yours, working together to maintain their lifeblood? You, on the ground, know it's a bit of both, but mostly the latter. Your neighbors are your first line of defense against a rogue current, or a collapsing dike. You help them, they help you. There's no ancient equivalent of a water utility company to call when things go wrong. It's just you, your tools, and your community. So, as the sun climbs higher, and you wipe the sweat from your brow, you look out over the fields. The shadoofs stands silent for a moment, waiting for its next task. The distant shimmer of the Nile reminds you of its immense power, both life-giver and potential destroyer. This vital art of water management, from the personal, arduous effort of the shadoof to the grand, communal undertaking of harnessing the annual flood, is the very essence of your quiet agricultural life. It's a continuous cycle of observation, labor, and adaptation, ensuring that the bounty of the land continues to nourish your people. As the sun climbs higher, painting the eastern sky with hues of soft peach and rose, you're already in the fields, not alone, but surrounded by the quiet hum of your family. The shadoofs have done their work, the channels are full, and now, it's time for hands and backs to truly connect with the earth. This isn't a solitary endeavor, a lone farmer toiling in isolation. Oh no, my friend, In ancient Kush, your field is a symphony of shared effort, a living tapestry woven from the threads of family and community. It's like the original co-working space, just with more dirt and significantly less Wi-Fi. You feel the dry, fine soil beneath your bare feet, surprisingly cool in the early morning despite the impending heat of the day. Your father, a man whose hands are as gnarled and strong as the ancient acacia trees, is already at the far end of the plot, his silhouette a testament to decades of dedication. He moves with a practiced rhythm, his hoe rising and falling in a steady cadence, breaking up the clods of earth left by the recent tilling. You can almost hear the soft thwack-thwack as the metal bites into the soil, a comforting sound that speaks of purpose and productivity. Your mother, often the quiet architect of the household, is not confined to the home. In Kush, it is a mainstream historical fact that women played a profoundly significant role in agriculture, often overseeing the planting, managing the seeds, and participating directly in the heavy labor of the fields alongside men. She moves with an elegant efficiency, her movements fluid as she scatters seeds with a practiced flick of her wrist, her eyes scanning the rows with an almost intuitive understanding of what the land needs. Your younger siblings, bless their energetic little hearts, are already engaged in their own vital, if sometimes chaotic, contributions. Your little sister, no older than 5, is tasked with scaring away the persistent sparrows that eye the freshly sown seeds with predatory intent. She waves a small, dried palm frond with gusto, emitting a series of high-pitched squeals that, while perhaps not terrifying to the birds, are certainly effective at announcing her presence. Your brother, a few years older, is learning the delicate art of weeding, his brow furrowed in concentration as he carefully differentiates between a young grain sprout and an unwanted invader. He grumbles occasionally, a universal language of childhood reluctance, but he knows his efforts are crucial. It's truly a quirky tidbit that even the smallest children in Kushite society had designated agricultural roles, often starting with bird-scaring duties, which were surprisingly formal and taken quite seriously, as a good harvest depended on every single seed. As the sun climbs higher, the air warms, and the sounds of individual labor begin to blend into a single, cohesive hum. You hear the soft murmurs of conversation, the occasional shared laugh, the rhythmic scrape of tools against earth. It's a quiet camaraderie, born of shared purpose and shared sweat. There's no need for elaborate team-building exercises here. The very act of tilling the earth side by side, day after day, year after year, forges bonds stronger than any corporate retreat could ever hope to achieve. You wipe a bead of sweat from your brow, feeling the familiar ache in your back, but also a profound sense of belonging. Each furrow you create, each seed you plant, is not just for your immediate family's sustenance, but for the collective well-being of your village. This interconnectedness isn't just about your immediate family plot. Oh no, it extends far beyond. When the time comes for tasks too large for a single family unit, perhaps clearing a new patch of land after a particularly generous flood, or repairing a damaged irrigation channel, the entire community rallies. You've seen it countless times. A call goes out, a quiet understanding passes through the village, and suddenly, hands from every household converge. It's a beautiful dance of reciprocity. Today, you might help your neighbor clear a stubborn patch of reeds. Tomorrow, they'll be there, lending their strength to your efforts during the demanding harvest. There's no formal ledger, no tallying of hours. It's an unspoken agreement, a social contract written in the very soil you share. The older generations, the village elders, don't just sit idly by, dispensing wisdom from the shade of a date palm. While their most strenuous labor might be behind them, their wisdom is an invaluable asset. They walk the fields, their experienced eyes scanning for signs of pest, disease, or simply an area that needs a bit more attention. They share stories of past harvests, of times of drought and abundance, imparting knowledge that has been passed down through countless generations. They teach the young ones the subtle nuances of the soil, the way to read the wind for approaching weather, the best time to plant a particular crop. It's a living library of agricultural knowledge, passed from hand to hand, from heart to heart. Sometimes, a particularly large or specialized task might require a more organized communal effort. Imagine the sheer scale of harvesting the vast fields of emmer wheat or barley. It's a race against time, against the elements, against the very nature of ripeness. That's when the entire village truly mobilizes. The air fills with a different kind of energy, a focused, almost urgent intensity. Women, men, and older children move through the fields in coordinated lines, their sickles flashing in the sun, gathering the golden bounty. The laughter is still there, perhaps a bit more strained, but the shared purpose is palpable. It's a testament to the fact that while individual plots sustain families, the collective harvest sustains the entire community. There's a gentle social pressure, too, to contribute your fair share. Not in a harsh, punitive way, but in a subtle understanding that everyone's well-being is intertwined. If one family falters, the community feels it. If one family shirks their duties, it's noticed. It's not about judgment, but about the natural consequence of a tightly knit society where survival itself depends on mutual support. You wouldn't want to be the one whose field looks like a forgotten wild patch while your neighbor's plots are flourishing, now would you? It's the ancient equivalent of not pulling your weight in a group project, except the stakes are, food. This communal approach to agriculture also informs how land itself is viewed. While specific family plots are cultivated and passed down, the underlying understanding of land ownership in ancient Kush, particularly for common agricultural land, is a fascinating area. Historians still argue whether land was primarily communal property managed by the village or clan, with families having usufruct rights, the right to use and benefit from it, or if private ownership of agricultural plots was more widespread and formalized. What is clear, however, is that the practical reality of farming in this fertile but demanding environment necessitated a strong sense of shared responsibility and mutual aid, regardless of the precise legal definitions of ownership. The land might be yours, but its yield, and the labor required, are undeniably a community affair. As the day wears on, the sun reaching its zenith, you might pause for a shared meal right there in the fields. Simple fare, perhaps some flatbread and dried fish, or a handful of dates, brought by one of the women. It's a moment of respite, of shared sustenance, where the conversations shift from the task at hand to the lighter topics of daily life, the latest village gossip, or perhaps a gentle teasing about who found the biggest weed. It's like the world's most authentic, and definitely most dusty, potluck. These small moments of shared humanity, amidst the relentless work, are what truly knit the community together. The children, once focused on their duties, might now be chasing dragonflies or playing a quick game of tag among the rows of growing crops, their laughter echoing across the fields. They are learning, absorbing the rhythm of life, the importance of hard work, and the absolute necessity of working together. They see their parents, their aunts and uncles, their grandparents, all contributing, all part of this continuous cycle of planting, tending, and eventually, harvesting. They are not just being taught skills, they are being taught a way of life, a philosophy of interconnectedness that will sustain them, and the generations after them, just as the Nile sustains the land. By late afternoon, as the sun begins its slow descent, casting long shadows across the fields, the pace might slow, but the work continues until the last light fades. You look back at the rows, now neatly tilled, or freshly planted, or diligently weeded. There's a quiet satisfaction in the sight, a sense of accomplishment that isn't just yours, but shared with every hand that contributed. This communal labor, this interwoven tapestry of family and village, isn't just about efficiency, it's about survival, about building resilience, and about fostering a deep, unwavering sense of community that is the true bedrock of your quiet agricultural life in ancient Kush. As the sun climbs higher, painting the eastern sky in hues of soft peach and rose, your attention shifts from the cultivated fields to another essential part of your quiet, agricultural world, the humble herds. You hear them before you see them, a lowing chorus of contentment from the kraals and pens nestled near the edge of the village. It's a sound as familiar as the rustle of the wind through the date palms, a constant, reassuring hum in the background of your daily life. These aren't just animals, they are the living, breathing, sometimes surprisingly opinionated, bedrock of your existence. You trudge towards the cattle enclosure, the ground still cool beneath your bare feet, carrying a worn, woven basket. The air here is rich with the earthy scent of straw and dung, a smell that, oddly enough, brings a sense of comfort and prosperity. Your cattle, sleek and sturdy, with their characteristic long horns that seem to defy gravity, are already stirring. They eye you with a placid, almost ancient wisdom, chewing slowly on their cud. These magnificent creatures, primarily a mix of humped zebu and hornless taurian breeds, are the true giants of your agricultural landscape. Historians still debate the precise lineage and intermingling of these distinct cattle types in ancient Kush, some arguing for a largely indigenous development, while others point to significant influences from further north or east. Regardless of their exact family tree, their presence here is undeniable, their importance immeasurable. They are, in essence, your four-legged, cud-chewing colleagues. Your day often begins with the cows. With practiced ease, you settle onto a small stool beside a broad-flanked cow, her hide warm and soft beneath your touch. The rhythmic pull and release, the gentle spray of warm milk into the clay pot, is a meditative start to the day. This isn't just a morning chore, it's a direct connection to sustenance. The milk, rich and creamy, will nourish your children, provide a vital source of protein for the elders, and can be churned into butter or fermented into a tangy, yogurt-like curd that keeps well in the heat. It's the closest thing you have to a daily delivery service, except the delivery driver occasionally steps on your foot. But cattle are far more than just walking milk dispensers. They are the heavy lifters, the silent workhorses of your fields. Later in the morning, you will harness the oxen, their powerful shoulders straining against the wooden yokes, as they pull the simple, wooden plows through the softened earth. It's a slow, deliberate process, each furrow a testament to their strength and your patient guidance. Without them, preparing the land for sowing would be an exponentially more arduous task, relying solely on human muscle and primitive tools. They are your ancient tractors, your organic rototillers, and frankly, they never complain about the overtime. They also play a crucial role in threshing, trampling the harvested grain to separate the kernels from the chaff, a dance of hooves that is both efficient and mesmerizing to watch. Beyond the cattle, your village also relies on smaller, yet equally vital, herds of goats and sheep. You might see a mischievous goat nibbling at the edge of a thorny acacia bush, or a flock of sheep, their woolly coats shimmering in the morning sun, being led to fresh grazing grounds. Goats, with their remarkable adaptability, thrive on terrain that larger animals might avoid, turning sparse vegetation into milk and meat. Their milk, though perhaps not as abundant as a cow's, is equally nutritious and often preferred for its distinct flavor. Sheep provide not only meat and milk but also their precious wool, which your family will meticulously clean, spin into yarn, and weave into warm cloaks and blankets for the cooler nights, or sturdy sacks for carrying grain. It's like having a mobile textile factory, a very fluffy, bleeding textile factory. And then there are the donkeys. Ah, the donkeys. These often underestimated beasts of burden are the backbone of your local transport. You frequently see them patiently laden with baskets of produce, bundles of firewood, or jugs of water, their small, sturdy hooves kicking up dust as they trot between the village and the fields, or to the riverbank. They are reliable, sure-footed, and possess a stubborn charm that makes them indispensable. Without your trusty donkey, that trip to the market with surplus grain would involve far more back-breaking effort. They are the original Ubers, albeit with slightly less legroom and a tendency to stop for snacks whenever they feel like it. The importance of livestock extends far beyond their immediate products and labor. They represent wealth, a living, breathing bank account that can be drawn upon in times of need or traded for other essential goods. A large herd signifies prosperity and status within your community. It's a well-known historical fact that in ancient Kush, particularly during the Meroitic period, cattle ownership was a significant indicator of wealth and social standing, often depicted in tomb reliefs and royal iconography. It wasn't uncommon for a ruler's power to be measured by the size of their herds. Even the waste products of your animals are valuable. The dung, carefully collected and dried, becomes an excellent, nutrient-rich fertilizer for your fields, returning vital minerals to the soil that your crops extract. It's a closed-loop system, remarkably efficient and sustainable. And for those times when firewood is scarce, dried dung cakes serve as a reliable fuel for cooking fires, burning with a steady, if slightly aromatic, heat. It's the ultimate recycling program, turning yesterday's dinner into tomorrow's energy. There's also a deeper, more spiritual connection you feel with these animals. You don't just see them as resources, you see them as partners in your survival. You understand their rhythms, their subtle communications. You know when a cow is about to calve, or when a sheep is feeling unwell. Sometimes, for special occasions or festivals, you might even adorn your most prized cattle. There are whispers, and indeed, some archaeological findings suggest that certain Kushite communities would decorate their prized cattle with intricate patterns painted directly onto their hides or with elaborate collars woven with colorful beads and feathers. It was a practice that highlighted their reverence for these animals, treating them not just as livestock but as revered members of the extended family, almost like living, breathing works of art. The health of your herds directly impacts the health of your family and your village. You learn to identify common ailments, to apply traditional remedies passed down through generations. A sick animal is a threat to your livelihood, a potential loss of food, labor, and wealth. You dedicate time to ensuring they have adequate grazing, access to water, and protection from predators. It's a constant vigil, a quiet responsibility that underpins your entire agricultural existence. So, as you watch the cattle slowly make their way to the grazing lands, their bells tinkling softly in the morning breeze, you feel a profound sense of gratitude. These humble herds, with their gentle eyes and unwavering dedication, are not just part of your life, they are an extension of it. They are the beating heart of your farm, providing sustenance, labor, and a quiet, steadfast companionship that makes the hard work of the land a little less daunting, and life in ancient Kush a little more complete. As the sun begins its slow ascent, painting the eastern sky in hues of soft rose and muted gold, you don't just see the fields as sources of labor anymore. Oh no, dear friend, now they transform into the very heart of your daily sustenance, the quiet, humble larder of your entire world. You wake with the scent of wood smoke already curling from communal cooking fires, a gentle, earthy perfume that promises the day's first nourishment. It's a scent that tells you, without words, that the bounty of the land is indeed being transformed, right here, right now, into something truly vital. You stretch, a languid, unhurried movement, and make your way towards the central cooking area, a simple, open-air space often shared by several families. Here, the real magic happens, the alchemy of earth and water and fire. You see women, their movements practiced and rhythmic, kneeling before large, flat grinding stones. The sound is a low, persistent shhh, like the gentle whisper of the Nile itself, as grains of millet and sorghum are crushed into fine flour. This isn't just a chore, it's a meditative dance, a foundational act. Indeed, millet and sorghum were the bedrock grains of ancient Kushite agriculture, providing the caloric backbone for the vast majority of the population. It's pretty impressive, really, how much effort went into making what we'd now just pick up in a paper bag from the supermarket. Imagine the arm workout. No need for a gym membership when your daily bread requires this much dedication. Once the flour is ready, often mixed with a little water and perhaps some yeast from a previous batch, or even naturally occurring wild yeasts, because nature's got your back even then, it's shaped into flatbreads. These aren't your fancy, artisanal sourdoughs, mind you. These are the humble, hearty, life-sustaining kind. They're cooked on heated stones or clay griddles over the glowing embers of a wood fire, puffing up slightly, their surface browning to a comforting golden hue. The smell of baking bread, warm and yeasty, fills the morning air, a primal aroma that speaks of home and hearth and the enduring cycle of life. You might even catch a glimpse of a child, eyes wide with anticipation, trying to sneak a warm corner before it's even fully cooled. And honestly, who could blame them? That first bite of warm bread, fresh from the fire, is just chef's kiss. But it's not just bread, oh no. Your diet, while simple, is remarkably resourceful. From the fields come a variety of vegetables, onions, garlic, leafy greens, and various root vegetables, often cooked into thick, savory stews. These stews are the ultimate comfort food, bubbling gently in large earthenware pots, often seasoned with wild herbs gathered from the riverbanks or dried spices stored carefully from last season. Sometimes, if the hunt has been fruitful, or a family animal has been culled, small pieces of goat, sheep, or even cattle meat might be added, transforming a simple vegetarian stew into a richer, more celebratory dish. Fish, abundant in the Nile, is another frequent and vital protein source. You see it dried, salted, or grilled fresh over the coals, its smoky aroma mingling with the other cooking smells. It's like a daily buffet, but instead of choosing between sushi and pizza, you're deciding between more bread and even more stew. Decisions. Fruits, too, play their part. Dates, figs, and other seasonal delights are enjoyed fresh when available, or dried for preservation during the leaner months. You might even find yourself chewing on a piece of dried baobab fruit, known for its tart, slightly citrusy flavor, a delightful little burst of something different. It's a fun little tidbit that the baobab tree, though more commonly associated with parts of sub-Saharan Africa, also grew in Kush, and its fruit was appreciated for both its nutritional value and its distinctive taste. Think of it as ancient Kush's version of a sour candy, but way healthier and probably less likely to give you a sugar crash. And then there's the drink. Water, of course, fresh from the Nile, is always available. But for something more substantial, there's beer. Not the fizzy, hops-heavy concoctions you might be familiar with, but a thick, nutritious, somewhat cloudy brew made from fermented millet or sorghum. It's more like a liquid bread, really, providing both hydration and calories, a staple for adults and often consumed by children too, albeit in weaker forms. Historians still debate whether the primary function of this beer was purely nutritional, or if its mild alcoholic content also played a significant social, or even ritual role in daily life. Was it the ancient equivalent of a healthy smoothie, or more like a very mild happy hour? Perhaps a bit of both. It certainly made those long days in the fields feel a little less long. Meal times are rarely solitary affairs. You gather with your family, often extending to immediate neighbors, sitting on mats on the ground, sharing from common platters. There's a quiet camaraderie in these moments, a shared understanding of the effort that went into producing every bite. Conversation is soft, punctuated by the sounds of chewing and the occasional clink of pottery. You eat with your hands, scooping up the thick stews with pieces of flatbread, savoring the simple, honest flavors of the earth. There's no rush, no frantic checking of messages, just a pure, unadulterated act of nourishing your body and soul. As the day progresses, lighter meals or snacks might be consumed. Perhaps a handful of dried dates or a piece of leftover bread, dipped in a little oil. The rhythm of eating mirrors the rhythm of the day, a substantial breakfast to fuel the morning's work, a midday meal to sustain you through the afternoon, and a final, often hearty, dinner as the sun dips below the horizon, bringing cool relief and the promise of rest. The cycle of planting, tending, harvesting, and then, finally, consuming is complete. It's a testament to ingenuity, resilience, and the deep, abiding connection between your people and the fertile lands that define your existence. Every meal is a quiet celebration, a delicious acknowledgement of the earth's generosity and your own hard work. The air, once thick with the dust of relentless labor and the quiet, determined hum of daily toil, now vibrates with a different kind of energy. You can feel it in your bones, a loosening of the shoulders, a lightness in your step. The fields, stripped of their golden bounty, lie fallow, resting. And so, too, do you. This isn't just a break, it's a collective exhale, a joyous shout of relief and gratitude. The harvest is in. The granaries are full, or at least fuller than they were. And that, my friend, is cause for celebration. You know how it is, right? That feeling after a massive project finally wraps up, and you just want to collapse, but also, paradoxically, you have this surge of energy that makes you want to dance on a table? Well, imagine that, but amplified by an entire community, all of whom have been working shoulder to shoulder under the relentless sun for weeks. This isn't just about food, it's about survival, about collective effort, about the very heartbeat of your quiet, agricultural life. And when that heartbeat swells into a triumphant rhythm, it demands a festival. The first hint of the coming festivities often begins subtly. a few days after the last sheaves are brought in. Children, released from their light duties in the fields, start practicing their dances with newfound abandon, their laughter echoing through the village. Women begin preparing special foods that require longer fermentation or more intricate preparation, the aroma of spiced grains and simmering stews wafting from the cooking fires. Even the men, usually stoic and focused, permit themselves wider smiles, their conversations turning from crop yields to the upcoming communal games. It's a slow build, like the crescendo of a beautiful song, until the day itself arrives. And oh, what a day it is! The village transforms. Simple mud brick homes are adorned with garlands of dried flowers and fresh greenery. Pathways are swept clean, and the central gathering space, usually just a dusty common area, becomes the vibrant heart of the celebration. You rise with the sun, but today there's no rush to the fields. Instead, you don your finest linen tunic, perhaps woven with a simple pattern or dyed with natural pigments. The children are practically vibrating with excitement, dressed in their own festive attire, their faces painted with ochre and charcoal in symbolic patterns to bring good fortune. You might even spot a few elders sporting their ancient, treasured amulets, polished to a gleam for the occasion, probably passed down through generations. The sounds of the festival are the first things to truly embrace you. The rhythmic thrum of drums, crafted from stretched animal hides, begins early and continues late into the night. Flutes, made from reeds, weave melodic patterns through the percussive beat, sometimes joined by the haunting, resonant plucking of stringed instruments, perhaps even a lyre or a harp, its sound carrying over the excited chatter of hundreds of voices. Historians still debate the exact construction of some of the more elaborate Kushite instruments, wondering if certain designs were purely indigenous or if they borrowed techniques from their northern neighbors, but one thing is certain: they knew how to make a joyful noise. As the sun climbs, the feasting begins. And when I say feasting, I mean it. This isn't your average Tuesday night meal. This is a culinary explosion, a testament to the land's generosity and your people's hard work. Large communal cooking pits, dug days in advance, now glow with embers, roasting entire goats or sheep, their savory aroma mingling with the sweet scent of baking bread. You see baskets overflowing with dates, figs, and pomegranates, their jewel-toned flesh glistening in the sun. There are bowls of thick, nourishing porridges made from millet and sorghum, often enriched with honey or dried fruit. Freshly caught fish from the Nile, grilled to perfection, lie alongside platters of roasted vegetables, onions, gourds, and leafy greens, all seasoned with local herbs. And the drinks. Oh, the drinks. The most common beverage, of course, is a thick, fermented beer, often brewed from sorghum or millet, which is less about getting tipsy and more about hydration and nutrition, though it certainly helps loosen inhibitions. You might also find jugs of date wine or other fermented fruit juices, sweeter and more potent, reserved for the elders and special toasts. Everyone shares, pouring libations for the land, for the ancestors, and for the gods who smiled upon the harvest. You raise your clay cup, the earthy taste of the beer a comforting warmth in your belly, and clink it against your neighbors, a silent acknowledgement of shared prosperity and enduring community. "To a full granary!" someone shouts, and a ripple of cheers spreads through the crowd. The heart of the celebration, however, lies in the dance. As the music intensifies, people begin to move. It's not a performance for an audience, it's a spontaneous, communal expression of joy. Men, women, and children join hands, forming circles that expand and contract, their feet pounding the earth in unison, a living testament to their connection to the soil. Some dances are slow and stately, honoring the earth and the river. Others are fast and energetic, a whirlwind of motion, celebrating the vigor of life and the bounty of the harvest. You find yourself swept into a circle, your arms linked with your friends and family, your feet instinctively following the rhythm. You might not be a professional dancer, and let's be honest, after a long day in the fields, your body probably has a few creaks and groans, but here, under the open sky, surrounded by your people, you move with a freedom you rarely experience. It's exhilarating, a release of all the tension and strain of the past months. You might even catch your usually reserved uncle attempting a particularly enthusiastic hip wiggle, making everyone erupt in laughter. You know it's a good party when even the most stoic members of the community let loose. Beyond the feasting and dancing, there are other activities. Friendly competitions break out, wrestling matches between the younger men, archery contests, and even storytelling circles where elders recount tales of legendary harvests and the wisdom of their ancestors. Children dart through the crowds, playing games of chase, their high-pitched giggles adding to the joyful cacophony. There's a palpable sense of unity, a reaffirmation of the bonds that tie everyone together. This isn't just about celebrating food, it's about celebrating each other. During these festivals, there's also a strong spiritual component. You might see a small procession, led by village elders or spiritual leaders, carrying offerings to a local shrine or a sacred tree. These offerings, often a portion of the first fruits of the harvest, are given in thanks to the deities and spirits believed to govern the fertility of the land and the flow of the Nile. For the people of Kush, the gods, particularly Ammonius and local fertility deities, were intrinsically linked to the land's productivity. It's a solemn moment amidst the revelry, a quiet acknowledgement that your prosperity is not entirely your own doing, but a blessing from forces beyond your control. Some scholars ponder whether certain unique Meroitic rituals, such as specific animal sacrifices during harvest rites, were entirely distinct from Egyptian practices or if there was a subtle syncretism at play, blending influences over centuries. Regardless, the intent is clear: to ensure the land remains bountiful for the next season. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, the celebrations don't stop. Torches are lit, casting flickering shadows that dance with the moving bodies. The music continues, perhaps a little slower now, a bit more mellow, but still insistent. People gather around communal fires, sharing stories, singing songs, and simply enjoying the warmth of companionship. This is where the quiet humor comes out, the gentle teasing, the shared memories of the hard work that led to this moment. You hear tales of the most stubborn donkey, the biggest fish caught, the day the shadouf broke and everyone had to pitch in. It's a time for reflection, for gratitude, and for simple, unadulterated happiness. After all that hard work, your muscles are probably screaming, but your stomach is definitely singing, and your heart feels truly full. The air, once filled with dust and effort, now carries the sweet scent of roasted meats, fermented grains, and the musk of happy, tired bodies. The sounds of pounding feet and joyous shouts slowly give way to contented murmurs and the steady rhythm of drums, a lullaby of celebration. You might find yourself drifting off to sleep right there, under the vast Kushite sky, surrounded by the echoes of laughter and the warmth of shared joy. This isn't just a festival, it's the culmination of your year, the reward for your unwavering commitment to the land, and a powerful reminder of the deep, unbreakable bonds that hold your quiet, agricultural community together. The sun, still a gentle caress rather than a fiery hammer, nudges you awake on market day. There's a different hum in the air today, a subtle vibration of anticipation that even the sleepy chickens seem to pick up on. You stretch, feeling the familiar aches of a body well acquainted with the land, and your mind immediately shifts to the task at hand. This isn't just another day in the fields, it's a day of exchange, of connecting with the wider world beyond your village's familiar boundaries. You gather your bounty, carefully packed and ready for the journey. Perhaps it's a generous surplus of freshly harvested dates, their sticky sweetness promising a good trade, or perhaps bundles of dried fish, their salty aroma a testament to a successful catch from the Nile. Maybe you've brought some of your finest woven baskets, their intricate patterns a silent declaration of your skill. The journey to the market is a communal affair. You join neighbors on the well-trodden path, a slow procession of donkeys laden with goods, children scampering excitedly, and adults exchanging quiet jokes. The air fills with the soft thud of bare feet on dust, the occasional bray of a donkey, and the murmur of conversation. It's a peaceful trek, the landscape slowly unfurling around you, revealing other small villages, other patches of cultivated land, all contributing to the tapestry of Kushite life. You pass by fields where early risers are already at work, their figures silhouetted against the rising sun, a reminder of the quiet industry that underpins everything. You chuckle to yourself, thinking how much easier it is to carry a few baskets of dates than to pull a shadouf all day. Though, you muse, if you don't get a good price, you might as well have stayed home and pulled that shadouf. As you draw closer, the gentle hum transforms into a rising crescendo. The market isn't just a place, it's an event, a vibrant, pulsating heart of commerce and community. The smells hit you first, a rich tapestry of earth, spices, animal hides, and the tantalizing aroma of roasting grains. Then the sounds, a cacophony of human voices, the bleating of goats, the clatter of pottery, the rhythmic pounding of a distant hammer. It's a symphony of daily life, far more complex than the simple chirping of crickets back in your quiet fields. You navigate the throng, a practiced dance through the narrow lanes forming between the stalls. You find your usual spot, a patch of earth that has seen countless market days, and carefully arrange your goods. Other vendors are doing the same, their faces a mixture of anticipation and shrewd calculation. There's old Kemet, his eyes crinkling at the corners, meticulously stacking his clay pots, each one a testament to hours spent at the wheel. Beside him, young Nefer, her face still smooth with youth, proudly displays her intricately beaded necklaces, hoping to catch the eye of a passing merchant from a larger town. You give a polite nod to a woman selling bundles of fragrant herbs, their sharp, clean scent cutting through the heavier market smells. You notice she's managed to get her stall next to the best spot for shade again. Some people just have all the luck, or perhaps, as you suspect, the best connections. The real work begins now, the art of the trade. You don't deal in coins here, not in the way you might imagine a modern market. Instead, it's a dance of bartering, a delicate negotiation of value. You have dates, someone else has salt, a precious commodity in your agricultural life, vital for preserving food and maintaining health. You might offer a basket of dates for a small block of salt, and the negotiation begins. "These are the sweetest dates, picked at their peak," you might exclaim, holding one aloft for inspection. "Enough to sweeten your entire week." The salt vendor, a wizened man with eyes that have seen many harvests, might respond, "Ah, but my salt comes from the purest beds far to the north. It will last you months, not just a week." This back and forth, often punctuated by dramatic gestures and feigned indignation, is part of the fun, a social ritual as much as an economic transaction. Historians still debate the precise mechanisms of value exchange in these local markets, wondering if certain types of shell or bead truly functioned as a universal currency, or if it was almost entirely a system of direct barter, one good for another, often with agreed-upon equivalencies based on common need and availability. You might exchange a portion of your grain surplus for a new set of tools forged by the village blacksmith, a stronger hoe, perhaps, or a sharper sickle. The blacksmith, his arms thick with muscle and his brow perpetually smudged with soot, examines your grain with a critical eye. "Good kernels," he might grunt. "But my iron is from the distant mines, hard-won and shaped by fire." You haggle, of course, eventually settling on a fair amount, both of you walking away feeling slightly victorious. It's a beautiful system, really, where everyone contributes their specialized skill or surplus, and everyone benefits. You realize that without the blacksmith, you couldn't farm, and without your farming, he'd have no one to buy his tools. It all just clicks into place, like the pieces of a well-worn puzzle. Beyond the essentials, there's a vibrant array of other goods. You might spot a vendor selling small, intricately carved wooden figures, believed to bring good fortune to the harvest. Or perhaps, a woman displaying colorful woven textiles, their patterns telling stories of the Nile and its creatures. You find yourself drawn to a stall where an elderly woman, her hands gnarled with age, sells small, polished stones and dried herbs. She offers a unique item, a tiny, intricately woven charm, no larger than your thumb, said to protect livestock from illness. This quirky tidbit, a small charm woven from specific grasses and imbued with the scent of wild mint, is whispered to be particularly potent if purchased from her on a market day when the moon is waning, a secret only known to a few discerning buyers. You consider it, thinking of your goats, and decide that a little extra protection never hurt anyone. especially when it costs only a handful of your less than perfect dates. The market isn't just about trade, it's a social hub, a place to catch up on gossip, to hear news from neighboring villages, and to see faces you only encounter on these special days. You overhear snippets of conversations, news of a distant flood, a new baby born in a nearby hamlet, or the latest clever way someone managed to outsmart a particularly stubborn donkey. Children chase each other through the crowd, their laughter mingling with the calls of vendors. You might share a quick, thick flatbread, still warm from the oven, with a neighbor discussing the prospects for the next planting season. The energy is infectious, a welcome contrast to the quiet solitude of your fields. It's almost like the ancient version of scrolling through social media, only with better smells and actual human interaction. As the sun climbs higher, the market reaches its peak bustle. The air is thick with the smells of sweat, dust, and goods. Bargaining becomes more intense, voices rise and fall, and the flow of goods is constant. You successfully trade your remaining dates for a supply of fresh fish, a new clay pot, and a length of sturdy linen cloth. Your baskets are lighter now, but your heart feels full. You've not only secured essential goods for your family but also participated in the vibrant economic dance that keeps your community thriving. You even managed to swap some of your less than perfect dried figs for a surprisingly good story from a traveling merchant about a giant catfish that was almost as big as a donkey. You're pretty sure he was exaggerating, but it was worth the figs. As the afternoon wears on, the crowd begins to thin. Vendors start packing up their remaining wares, the sounds of the market slowly receding into a contented hum. You begin your journey home, your footsteps lighter than they were this morning, your load different, but equally valuable. The path back is quieter, filled with the satisfaction of a day well spent. You reflect on the myriad transactions, the conversations, the simple human connections that define this day. It's a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of your people, transforming the abundance of the land into a means of sustaining and enriching life. The quiet agricultural life of Kush, it turns out, is anything but isolated. It's deeply interwoven with the vibrant threads of commerce and community, all centered around the bustling, beautiful chaos of market day. The sun dips lower, painting the sky in hues of ochre and rose, and as the day's toil in the fields begins to wane, your body might crave rest, but your hands, they rarely find true idleness. You see, while farming is the beating heart of your existence here in ancient Kush, it's far from the only thing that fills your days. Think of it like this. If farming is the main course, then the simple crafts of your village are the essential side dishes, the cutlery, and even the tablecloth, without which the meal just wouldn't be complete. This isn't some ancient version of Amazon Prime where everything you need just magically appears at your doorstep. Oh no, you're the manufacturer, the delivery service, and the quality control, all rolled into one. As you step away from the sun-baked earth, you might gravitate towards the communal pottery kiln, a low, unassuming mound of earth and clay that, despite its humble appearance, is the birthplace of countless essential items. Clay, rich and pliable, is everywhere along the Nile's banks, a gift from the river's annual embrace. You've seen countless hands, young and old, working it, kneading it like dough, shaping it with an almost meditative rhythm. The air around the potters often hums with quiet concentration, occasionally punctuated by the soft thwack of clay being thrown or the gentle scrape of a shaping tool. You might even find yourself joining in, your fingers instinctively finding the right pressure, the right curve. You learn early on that a good pot isn't just about holding water or grain, it's about holding its shape through the intense heat of the firing, a process that can be as unpredictable as the weather. There's always that collective sigh of relief when a batch emerges intact, or a groan of dismay when a particularly promising vessel cracks. It's truly humbling, isn't it? To know that the vessel from which you drink water, or the jar that holds your precious grain, was shaped by hands just like yours, perhaps even your own. Sometimes you wonder if future archaeologists will ever look at your slightly lopsided water jug and ponder its story. Probably not, but a Kushite can dream. Beyond the sturdy, utilitarian pottery, you also find yourself immersed in the world of textiles. Think about it, you can't exactly farm naked, can you? Well, you could, but it would be rather uncomfortable and probably quite distracting. The process begins with the cultivation of flax, or perhaps cotton if your particular region is suitable, grown alongside your food crops. Once harvested, the fibers are painstakingly separated, a process that requires patience and nimble fingers. Then comes the spinning. You might see women, young and old, with distaffs tucked under their arms, their fingers deftly twisting fibers into thread as they walk, as they talk, even as they watch over the children. The rhythmic hum of the spinning wheel, though simple, is a constant backdrop to village life, a subtle reminder of the continuous effort required to clothe your community. And then, the weaving. Simple looms, often just a frame of wood, are set up in shaded courtyards or within the cooler confines of homes. You learn to thread the warp, a surprisingly intricate task, and then to pass the weft back and forth, building up the fabric thread by thread. The clack-clack of the shuttle is another familiar sound, a counterpoint to the chirping of crickets as dusk settles. From these simple looms emerge the rough-spun tunics and wraps that constitute your everyday attire, the blankets that ward off the chill of the desert night, and the bags used to carry everything from harvested grains to market goods. It's not exactly high fashion, but it's durable, practical, and entirely your own creation. Historians still argue whether certain patterns or dyes held specific symbolic meanings or were simply decorative, but for you, the primary concern is warmth and covering. And speaking of covering, what about your feet? Sandals, of course. Made from tough animal hides or woven papyrus, they're another essential item crafted right here. The leatherworking isn't elaborate, it's about utility. Hides, often from the cattle you so carefully tend, are cured and softened using techniques passed down through generations. You learn to cut and shape the leather, punching holes for lacing, creating simple, sturdy footwear that protects your feet from the harsh terrain and the scorching sun. It's a messy job, often involving strong smells, but the end result is a pair of sandals that are perfectly molded to your feet, something you definitely won't find at any ancient department store, if such a thing existed. Then there's the art of basketry, a truly universal craft that predates even pottery in many cultures, and is certainly thriving here. Reeds and grasses, abundant along the Nile, are gathered and dried, then meticulously woven into an astonishing variety of forms. From shallow trays for winnowing grain to deep, sturdy baskets for carrying water or provisions, these woven wonders are indispensable. You might sit with your elders, their gnarled fingers moving with incredible speed and precision, demonstrating how to start a base, how to build up the sides, how to finish an edge so it won't unravel. The process is almost meditative, the repetitive motion allowing your mind to wander, yet keeping your hands busy. The rustling sound of the reeds, the earthy scent, the satisfaction of seeing a functional object emerge from simple plant fibers, it's a quiet joy. And what about the tools themselves? While the most advanced metalworking, particularly for iron, would become a hallmark of later Kushite periods, especially in places like Meroe, your daily life relies on simpler, more accessible materials. You're often involved in the crafting and repair of wooden handles for hoes, sickles, or plows. Wood, though not as common as in more forested regions, is carefully sourced and shaped. You might use stone tools to shape wood, or even simple chisels made from hardened bone. Stone itself is a fundamental material. You learn to select the right kind of stone for grinding grain, for pounding spices, or for rudimentary cutting tools. It's a skill that requires an understanding of geology as much as craftsmanship, knowing which rocks will hold an edge and which will simply crumble. You might spend hours sharpening a stone blade, the rhythmic scrape a testament to your dedication to maintaining your implements. Even the humble acacia tree, so common in this landscape, contributes to your craft repertoire. Its gum, a sticky resin that oozes from the bark, is collected and used as a natural adhesive, a kind of ancient superglue, for mending pottery or attaching handles. It's one of those quirky little tidbits that often goes unnoticed in grand historical narratives, but it's utterly vital to your daily life. Imagine trying to fix a cracked water pot without it. These crafts aren't just about creating objects, they're about self-sufficiency, about community, and about passing down knowledge. You learn by watching, by doing, by failing, and by trying again. There's no formal schooling for weaving or pottery, it's an apprenticeship of life. Children learn by playing with clay scraps, by helping to sort fibers, by mimicking the motions of their parents and grandparents. It's a continuous, intergenerational transfer of practical wisdom. And when you consider it all, the pottery for storage, the textiles for clothing and shelter, the baskets for transport, the tools for farming and daily tasks, you realize that these simple crafts are anything but simple in their impact. They are the scaffolding upon which your agricultural life is built. They are the quiet hum of productivity that underscores the rhythm of your days, providing comfort, utility, and a profound sense of independence. You are not merely a farmer, you are a maker, a creator, a vital thread in the rich tapestry of ancient Kushite life. And as the stars begin to pepper the vast, inky sky, you might sit by a flickering oil lamp, perhaps when you even help to shape, mending a fishing net or polishing a worn wooden tool, knowing that every stitch, every stroke, every formed piece of clay, contributes to the enduring legacy of your quiet, self-reliant existence. You know, it's easy to look at the daily grind of ancient farming, the tilling, the sowing, the endless shadoofs pulling, and think it's all just sweat and callous hands. But here, in the quiet heart of Kush, it's so much more. You don't just work the land, you commune with it. The soil isn't just dirt beneath your feet, it's the very skin of a living, breathing entity, one that demands respect, gratitude, and a healthy dose of all. It's like when you talk to your house plants, except these plants are your entire livelihood, and the house is the entire world, and the plants might actually listen. Just kidding, mostly. Every sunrise, as the golden light spills across the fields, you feel a whisper of something ancient and powerful. It's not just the sun warming your skin, it's a divine blessing, a promise of light and growth. And the Nile, oh, the Nile. It's not merely a river, it's the lifeblood, the ultimate giver, a deity in its own right. You see the gentle current, hear its rhythmic flow, and you understand instinctively that your very existence is cradled in its watery embrace. When the annual flood arrives, it's not just an event on a calendar, it's a sacred pilgrimage, a majestic dance between the divine river and the thirsty land. You watch, with a mixture of hope and trepidation, as the waters creep higher, knowing that too much, or too little, can spell disaster. But mostly, you watch with profound gratitude, offering silent prayers for the perfect inundation. You might even toss a handful of grain into the swirling waters as a small thank you, a little offering to the river spirit, just in case it's feeling peckish. It's like leaving out milk and cookies for Santa, but with much higher stakes. Your connection to the natural world here is deeply, inextricably spiritual. Every rustle of the papyrus reeds, every cry of a bird soaring overhead, every perfect ear of sorghum ripening in the sun, it all speaks of a grander design, a world imbued with spirits and deities. You understand that the health of your crops isn't solely dependent on your hard work, but also on the blessings of these unseen forces. There's a humility that comes with living so closely to nature's whims, a quiet acknowledgement that despite your best efforts, ultimately, you are but a small part of a much larger, divine tapestry. It's a bit like trying to control your Wi-Fi signal. You can do everything right, but sometimes it just has a mind of its own, and you just have to hope for the best. One of the most revered figures in your spiritual landscape, particularly when it comes to the bounty of the land, is a Piedmac. This isn't just some local hero. A Piedmac is a major Kushite lion-headed war god, but crucially, he's also associated with fertility and prosperity. You see his image carved into temple walls, a powerful, muscular figure, often with a bow and arrows, but his presence is felt most keenly in the fields. You know that he watches over your crops, protecting them from pests and ensuring their growth. When you're out there, tending to the young plants, you might murmur a quiet prayer to a Piedmac, asking for his strength to infuse the soil, for his fierce protection against anything that might harm your precious harvest. It's a mainstream historical fact that a Piedmac was widely worshipped throughout Kush, especially during the Meroitic period. His temples and depictions found far and wide, a testament to his importance in both war and agricultural life. He's basically the ancient Kushite equivalent of a superhero who also moonlights as a gardening guru. The earth itself is seen as a benevolent mother, nurturing and providing. Before you even break ground for a new planting season, you might engage in a small, personal ritual. You'd kneel, run your fingers through the rich, dark soil, and offer a silent plea for its continued generosity. Perhaps you'd bury a small, symbolic offering, a perfect seed from the previous harvest, or a tiny clay figurine, as a token of respect. It's a way of saying, "Thank you, Mother Earth, for letting us borrow your bounty for a little while." This isn't about appeasing an angry God, it's about honoring a relationship, a partnership between humanity and the natural world. The wind, too, carries spiritual significance. It can be a gentle caress, bringing relief from the heat, or a harsh, sand-laden gust that threatens to strip the young plants bare. You learn to read its moods, to understand its messages. Sometimes, a sudden gust might be interpreted as a warning, a sign that you need to reinforce your fences or gather your livestock. Other times, it's just the wind, being wind. But you always keep an ear open, just in case. It's like checking the weather app, but instead of a phone, you're consulting the very air around you, which, let's be honest, is probably more accurate than some of those apps anyway. Even the animals you depend on hold a place in this spiritual tapestry. Your cattle aren't just beasts of burden, they are part of the life cycle, their strength contributing to the health of your fields, their milk and meat sustaining your family. You might observe a particular reverence for certain creatures, believing they embody specific spirits or bring good fortune. For example, the scarab beetle, though small, is often associated with rebirth and the sun, and finding one in your field might be seen as an auspicious sign for growth. There's a quirky tidbit about this. Some Kushite farmers would pay close attention to their dreams, particularly before planting. If you dreamt of a field overflowing with water and healthy, plump fish, it was considered an extremely positive omen for a bountiful harvest. Conversely, dreaming of parched earth or sickly, thin animals would cause a stir of concern, leading to extra prayers and perhaps even a small purification ritual for the fields. It was like an ancient dream journal, but with real-world, crop-related consequences. This deep spiritual connection also manifests in communal celebrations and rituals. When the harvest is safely gathered, the feasting isn't just about sharing food, it's a profound act of collective gratitude. You join your neighbors in songs and dances that honor the Nile, the sun, a Piedmac, and the very spirit of the fertile earth. These aren't mere performances, they are heartfelt expressions of thanks, a way of giving back to the forces that have sustained you. You might see offerings laid out at small shrines near the fields, simple bowls of grain or fresh water, left for the unseen spirits who guard the land. Of course, not every year is a year of plenty. There are times when the Nile doesn't rise high enough, or when an unexpected blight sweeps through the fields. In these moments, your faith is truly tested. You don't despair, but you turn even more fervently to your spiritual beliefs. You might participate in communal prayers for rain, or offer more substantial sacrifices at the local shrine. It's a testament to your resilience and your enduring faith in the benevolence of the land and its gods. You understand that sometimes, even with the best intentions and the most fervent prayers, nature has its own plans. It's like when you meticulously follow a recipe, but the cake still doesn't rise. You don't blame the flour, you just try again, maybe with a slightly different approach and a renewed sense of hope. There's some scholarly debate about the exact pantheon of Kushite agricultural deities and how much influence Egyptian religious practices had versus indigenous Kushite beliefs regarding crop fertility and the Nile. While Egyptian gods like Ammonius were certainly revered in Kush, the specific emphasis and unique characteristics of deities like a Piedmac suggest a distinct, localized spiritual understanding of the forces that govern the harvest. Were these local spirits always distinct, or did they sometimes merge with Egyptian counterparts in the minds of the farmers? It's a fascinating puzzle that historians still piece together from temple inscriptions and archaeological finds. Ultimately, your life as a farmer in ancient Kush isn't just about survival. It's a spiritual journey, a continuous dialogue with the natural world. Every seed you plant, every drop of water you draw from the Nile, every harvest you gather, is imbued with meaning. You are not just a worker of the land, you are a custodian, a participant in an ancient, sacred dance between humanity and the earth. And as the sun sets, casting long shadows across your fields, you feel a quiet, profound sense of peace. You've done your part, and you trust that the spirits of the land will do theirs. You wake one morning, and the usual cool whisper of the dawn breeze is replaced by a hot, dry gasp. The air feels thick, heavy, like a forgotten blanket. You step outside, your bare feet meeting not the familiar cool earth, but a parched, cracked surface that seems to sigh under your weight. This, my friends, is the unwelcome embrace of a challenge, a harsh reality that every farmer, ancient or modern, knows in their bones: drought. The Nile, your lifeblood, your constant companion, seems to have shrunk. Its wide, benevolent embrace has tightened, revealing more of its muddy banks than you've ever seen. The water level is alarmingly low, and the annual inundation, the life-giving flood that usually deposits its rich, dark silt, is late. Or worse, it's meager, barely cresting its banks. You watch your neighbors, their faces etched with the same quiet worry that gnaws at your own stomach. The fields, which just weeks ago promised a verdant bounty, are now a patchwork of wilting stalks and dusty, brittle leaves. The millet, the sorghum, the barley, they stand like skeletal sentinels, whispering of failure. It's like the very earth has decided to hold its breath, and you find yourself holding yours too, waiting for a rain that doesn't come, a flood that falters. You pray, you perform rituals, you even try a little rain dance, though you know deep down the Nile answers to its own ancient rhythm, not your desperate jig. It's a stark reminder that even with all your knowledge and hard work, you are ultimately at the mercy of nature's whims. But drought isn't the only uninvited guest at your agricultural feast. Sometimes, the problem isn't too little, but too much, too many hungry mouths that aren't your own. Imagine waking to a sky that has turned dark, not with storm clouds, but with a living, swirling, buzzing mass. Locusts. Oh, those delightful little sky pirates. They descend like a biblical plague, a shimmering, chittering carpet that devours everything in its path. One moment, your field is green, the next, it's stripped bare, leaving behind only the ghosts of stalks and a chilling silence. It's like 1,000 tiny lawnmowers have descended simultaneously, except instead of leaving neat stripes, they leave utter devastation. You and your family, along with the entire village, rush out, shouting, beating pots, waving branches, trying to create enough noise and chaos to deter them. It's a futile, desperate dance against an overwhelming force, a testament to the sheer, terrifying power of nature's smallest armies. You watch your year's labor vanish before your eyes, a heartbreaking scene that repeats itself across generations. And then there are the ground-level marauders. The rodents, field mice, rats, scurry through the maturing crops, nibbling at roots, gnawing at grains. They're sneaky, efficient, and reproduce faster than you can say, "Oh no, not again!" You set simple traps, you try to build better granaries, elevating them on stones to deter the furry thieves. Then there are the birds, flocks of them, descending on ripe fields, picking off grains one by one. You employ children, often your own, to act as scarecrows, running through the fields, shouting and waving to keep the feathered bandits at bay. It's a constant, low-level war, a battle of wits against creatures driven by simple hunger. One quirky tidbit about ancient pest control in some regions, though historians still debate its effectiveness in Kush, involved placing effigies of predatory birds on poles or even using smoke from specific herbs to try and deter pests. You might try burning a bit of pungent dung, hoping the smell will displease the winged invaders, or stringing up shiny bits of pottery to scare them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it just makes your fields smell interesting. Beyond the immediate threats of drought and pests lies a more insidious, long-term challenge: maintaining the fertility of your precious soil. The Nile, bless its watery heart, usually brings a fresh layer of life-giving silt each year, a natural fertilizer delivery system, no subscription required. This black, nutrient-rich soil is the foundation of your prosperity. But constant cultivation, year after year, without proper replenishment, can deplete even the most fertile land. You learn to read the soil, to feel its texture, to know when it feels tired, weary. You understand that some fields need to lie fallow, resting for a season or two, allowing the earth to rejuvenate itself. It's like telling a hardworking friend, "Hey, take a break, you've earned it." You also understand the importance of what you put back into the soil. Animal dung, ash from cooking fires, decaying plant matter, these are your humble, yet vital, fertilizers. You meticulously collect and spread them, knowing that every handful contributes to the future harvest. It's a slow, laborious process, but essential. Historians still debate the exact extent to which Kushite farmers understood and systematically practiced crop rotation, or if it was more a matter of intuitive observation over generations. Did you know that planting certain legumes, like lentils or chickpeas, could actually replenish nitrogen in the soil? You might not have known the scientific explanation, but you certainly observed that fields seemed happier after a season of these particular crops. It's a testament to the deep, empirical knowledge passed down through your lineage, a wisdom born from countless seasons of observation and adaptation. The struggle to maintain fertility is particularly acute in areas further from the Nile's immediate embrace, where rainfall agriculture is more prevalent. Here, the soil is often sandier, less naturally rich, and even more dependent on the whims of the sky. You learn to maximize every drop of rain, to choose your crops carefully, selecting those hardy varieties that can withstand drier conditions. It's a constant tightrope walk, balancing ambition with what the land can realistically provide. Through all these challenges, the searing heat of drought, the ravenous hordes of pests, the tireless work of nourishing the soil, your resilience shines through. You are not just farmers, you are survivors, problem solvers, and optimists in the face of adversity. When the harvest is meager, you tighten your belts, share what little you have with your neighbors, and look to the next season with renewed hope. You mend your tools, repair your irrigation channels, and clear new patches of land if necessary. You learn to read the sky, the wind, the very whispers of the river, for any hint of what's to come. It's a deep, intuitive knowledge, passed down through generations, far more complex than any modern weather app could ever hope to be. You learn to adapt, to innovate, to simply endure. Because your life, your family, your very community, depends on your ability to face these harsh realities, dust yourself off, and get ready to plant again. You awaken, not to a single, unchanging rhythm, but to a grand symphony of seasons, each movement orchestrated by the ancient, life-giving Nile. Your quiet, agricultural life isn't a static tableau, you see, but a dynamic dance, a constant adaptation to the subtle shifts in the air, the soil, and most profoundly, the river. It's like trying to predict what your cat will do next, except instead of a cat, it's a colossal river and your entire livelihood depends on getting it right. And let me tell you, the stakes are a tad higher than whether Middens decides to knock over your favorite vase. The year in ancient Kush, much like its northern neighbor, was broadly divided into 3 distinct seasons, each dictating the very cadence of your days. First, there was Akhet, the inundation. Then Peret, the growing season. And finally Shemu, the harvest. Think of it as your annual subscription box, but instead of artisanal soaps and fancy teas, you get mud, growth, and backbreaking labor. Glorious, really? Akhet, the inundation, roughly July to October. As the sweltering heat of summer reaches its peak, a palpable anticipation hangs in the air. You watch the river, a watchful hawk eyeing its prey, but with less aggression and more hopeful murmuring. The water, which had been steadily receding, now begins to swell. Slowly at first, then with an unstoppable, majestic surge, the Nile begins its annual overflow. This isn't a violent, destructive flood in your mind, it's a generous, divine blessing. You see the water creeping over the banks, pushing into the irrigation canals, then spilling gently onto the parched fields, transforming your familiar landscape into a vast, shimmering lake. The sensory experience of Akhet is profound. The air becomes heavy with humidity, but also carries the sweet, earthy scent of disturbed soil and fresh water. The gentle lapping of the rising waters against the mud-brick walls of your village becomes the dominant soundtrack, a soothing, rhythmic lullaby that promises fertility. You wade through ankle-deep water to get from one hut to another, the cool, silted water a welcome reprieve from the heat. Your fields, once a patchwork of dry earth and stubble, are now submerged, a mirror reflecting the vast blue sky. It's like the land is taking a very long, very deep bath, preparing for its next act. During Akhet, the nature of your labor shifts dramatically. Farming, as you know it, largely pauses. You can't very well plant seeds in a foot of water, can you? Unless you're growing some kind of superaquatic grain, which, spoiler alert, you're not. This period becomes a time for maintenance and community projects. You spend your days reinforcing irrigation channels, repairing the mud brick walls of your home that have been softened by the previous year's sun, and perhaps even constructing new granaries or communal buildings. There's a particular satisfaction in working with the wet earth, shaping it with your bare hands, knowing it will harden into sturdy structures under the returning sun. This is also a time for mending tools, weaving baskets, and preparing fishing nets. The Nile, in its abundance, also brings fish closer to the villages, offering a valuable dietary supplement during this non-farming period. You might see children splashing gleefully in the shallower waters, chasing small fish, their laughter echoing across the watery expanse. It's a period of relative calm before the storm of planting, a chance to catch your breath, mend your clothes, and maybe even get a decent night's sleep without worrying about pests eating your crops. A fascinating, mainstream historical fact about this period is that the annual flooding of the Nile was so predictable and vital that ancient Kushite and Egyptian calendars were based around its cycle. The precise timing and height of the flood were meticulously observed, often using devices like nilometers, which were essentially graduated scales built into wells or along riverbanks to measure the water level. This allowed communities to anticipate the flood's impact and plan their agricultural year accordingly, a truly ingenious bit of ancient data collection. And for a quirky little tidbit? Some ancient texts and observations suggest that the color of the floodwaters was also seen as significant. A reddish hue indicated rich, fertile silt carried from the Ethiopian highlands, promising a bountiful harvest. If the water was clearer, it might suggest less silt, leading to concerns about soil replenishment. It was like a natural, ancient soil test kit, but instead of sending it to a lab, you just looked at the river and worried. Or rejoiced. Mostly worried, probably. Peret, the growing season, roughly November to February. As Akhet slowly recedes, the true work begins. The waters gradually pull back, leaving behind a thick, dark layer of nutrient-rich silt, the very lifeblood of your fields. The air, once heavy with humidity, now takes on a crispness, especially in the mornings, though the sun remains warm and generous. The landscape transforms yet again, from a vast lake to a canvas of dark, glistening mud, ready for the artist's touch. This is Peret, the season of emergence and growth. The moment the land is workable, your village springs into action with a focused intensity that borders on frenzy. There's a quiet urgency in every movement, a deep understanding that time is of the essence. You trudge through the still damp soil, the rich, earthy scent filling your nostrils, pulling your simple, wooden plow behind your trusty ox. The ground, now softened by the flood, yields to the plow's blade with a satisfying thump swish, turning over the dark, fertile earth. Your muscles ache, but there's a quiet satisfaction in the rhythmic effort, in the knowledge that you are preparing the cradle for your future sustenance. This is where the collective effort truly shines. Families work side by side, men and women, young and old, each contributing. You sow the seeds by hand, scattering them across the prepared furrows with practiced grace, a hopeful prayer on your lips. Barley, emmer wheat, pulses like lentils and chickpeas, these are your staples, the very foundation of your existence. You might also plant flax for linen, or various vegetables to supplement your diet. The ground is still damp enough that initial irrigation isn't always necessary, but you keep a close eye on the sky, hoping for those gentle, life-giving drizzles. As the weeks pass, a miracle unfolds before your eyes. Tiny green shoots, almost imperceptible at first, begin to pierce the dark earth. Your fields, once barren mud, transform into a vibrant carpet of green, swaying gently in the breeze. The sight is a balm to your soul, a visual confirmation of your hard work and the Nile's generosity. You spend your days tending the young crops, weeding out competing plants, and if the rains are scarce, carefully directing water from the canals to nourish the thirsty shoots. This might involve using a shadoofs, that elegant counterbalanced pole with a bucket, lifting water from a canal and pouring it onto the field. It's a simple machine, but oh, how effective it is! And boy, does it give you an arm workout that would make a modern gym enthusiast weep. Just one more bucket, you'd tell yourself. For the gains! Historians still debate the precise origins of certain sophisticated irrigation techniques employed in ancient Kush. While many practices were shared with Egypt, the unique geography and rainfall patterns in different parts of Kush meant that local innovations surely played a role. Was the shadoofs truly an independent invention in Kush, or was it adapted from Egyptian practices? The exact interplay of indigenous development versus cultural exchange remains a lively point of scholarly discussion, much like whether pineapple belongs on pizza. It does, by the way. Don't at me. Shemu, the harvest season, roughly March to June. The green fields of Peret gradually mature under the intensifying sun. The vibrant green gives way to golden hues as the grains ripen, the stalks becoming stiff and dry. The air grows hot and dusty, and the gentle breezes of Peret are replaced by warmer, sometimes gusty, winds. This is Shemu, the season of reckoning, the culmination of all your hard work and the Nile's benevolence. The harvest is a period of intense, unrelenting labor, but it's also infused with a powerful sense of community and purpose. You rise before dawn, the air still cool and crisp, and head to the fields with your family. Armed with simple sickles, curved blades of flint or bronze set into wooden handles, you begin the arduous task of cutting the ripe stalks. The rhythmic swish-crunch of countless sickles fills the air, a symphony of sustenance. You work bent over for hours, your back aching, your hands calloused, but the promise of full granaries fuels your efforts. It's like an ancient Pilates class, but with much higher stakes and less soothing music. Once cut, the bundles of grain are carried to a threshing floor, a hardened, circular area where the grain is separated from the stalks. You might use oxen to trample the grain, their hooves loosening the kernels, or you might beat the bundles with flails. The air becomes thick with dust and chaff, and you often tie cloths over your mouth and nose to protect yourself. After threshing, the grain is winnowed, tossed into the air on shallow baskets, allowing the wind to carry away the lighter chaff while the heavier kernels fall back down. It's a technique that requires precision and a good understanding of the wind, a skill passed down through generations. Don't sneeze! Someone might shout, as a gust of wind threatens to undo hours of work. The quirky tidbit here is that while the main crops were grains, the Kushites were also known for cultivating a wide variety of other plants, some for very specific, non-food purposes. For instance, the castor bean plant was grown not just for its oil, used for lamps or medicinal purposes, but also for its leaves, which were reportedly used to treat various skin ailments. Imagine your ancient equivalent of a multi-purpose balm, straight from the field. Once the grain is clean, it's carefully stored in granaries, often tall, conical structures made of mud brick, designed to keep the precious kernels dry and safe from pests. This is the moment of truth, the measure of your year's success. The sight of a full granary brings a deep sense of relief and quiet pride. You know your family, your village, will eat for another year. As Shemu draws to a close, the land once again lies fallow, exhausted from its bounty. The fields become dry and cracked under the relentless sun, awaiting the return of the life-giving Nile. Your farming practices subtly shift throughout the year, a continuous dance with nature. You learn to read the subtle signs, the behavior of birds, the patterns of clouds, the feel of the breeze, all guiding your decisions. This deep, intuitive knowledge, passed down through generations, is as vital as any tool or technique. Your entire existence is a testament to resilience, adaptation, and an enduring connection to the earth and the magnificent river that sustains it all. You stand now, as the sun dips low, casting long, peaceful shadows across the fields that have defined your days, your years, your very existence in ancient Kush. It's a quiet moment, a familiar tableau that has played out for countless generations before you, and will continue long after your own footsteps have faded from the dust. You feel the cool earth beneath your bare feet, a sensation so ingrained in your being it's like a second skin. This isn't just land, it's the enduring heart of your world, beating in a rhythm as old as the Nile itself. Think about it. The sun still rises, the river still swells and recedes, the seeds still sprout, and the harvests still come. Your life, humble and rooted, is a testament to something timeless. It's a quiet defiance against the fleeting nature of empires and the grand pronouncements of kings. While history books often focus on monumental structures and epic battles, and don't get me wrong, Kush had its fair share of impressive pyramids and formidable warriors, the true, enduring legacy of this kingdom, the very bedrock upon which everything else was built, was the quiet, consistent work of people like you, tilling the soil. Turns out, building an empire isn't just about fancy pyramids. It's mostly about making sure everyone has enough grains to make bread. Who knew? You are part of a living tapestry, woven from the same threads of sun, soil, and water that bound your great-great-grandparents. The tools you use, though perhaps a little more refined, are direct descendants of those fashioned millennia ago. The knowledge passed down to you, from determining the perfect time to plant to understanding the subtle signs of the river's mood, is an unbroken chain. It's almost comforting, isn't it? In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, some things, like trying to convince a goat to eat its vegetables, never really change. This quiet, persistent agricultural life is precisely what allowed the Kingdom of Kush to flourish for an astonishingly long time. From its early roots in the Kerma culture, through its powerful Napatan and Meroitic periods, Kush endured for over 1,000 years, a civilization whose longevity rivals, and in some aspects, even surpasses, its more famous neighbor to the north, Egypt. This incredible span wasn't fueled by gold alone, or by military might, but by the steady, reliable abundance produced from the fertile fields. It was the surplus food that fed the artisans who crafted exquisite jewelry, the scribes who developed the unique Meroitic script, the priests who tended the temples, and the soldiers who defended the borders. Your daily grind, your backbreaking labor under the relentless sun, was the engine of this civilization. You realize that your ancestors probably had less screen time, but definitely more. Staring at a growing plant. Time. Pretty sure that counts as mindfulness. This deep, almost spiritual connection to the land isn't just poetic, it's profoundly practical. The land isn't merely dirt to be exploited, it's a living entity, a generous provider, and a demanding master. You respect its power, understand its cycles, and adapt to its whims. This intimate knowledge, accumulated over generations, is a form of wealth far more valuable than any gold nugget unearthed from the desert. Consider the staple crops that have sustained you, the various types of millet and sorghum. While wheat and barley were certainly cultivated, especially closer to the Nile, it was these hardy, drought-resistant grains that truly allowed Kushite agriculture to thrive, particularly as you moved further south into regions with less reliable Nile inundation. These ancient superfoods, robust and resilient, were perfectly suited to the climate, forming the backbone of your diet and the foundation of your society. It's a quirky tidbit, perhaps, but these grains, often overlooked in the grand narrative, were as crucial to Kush's survival as any pharaoh's decree. And speaking of foundations, historians still debate the precise methods of land allocation and ownership within Kushite villages, whether it was communal, family-based, or centrally controlled by the state. But what is undeniable is that the system, whatever its exact mechanics, fostered a sense of collective responsibility and shared prosperity. The fields you work are not just your own, they are part of a larger communal effort, a shared inheritance that binds you to your neighbors and to the generations past and future. Your quiet life isn't solitary, it's deeply interwoven with the lives of everyone around you. The challenges you face, the unpredictable floods, the creeping droughts, the sudden pest infestations, are not just personal struggles, they are shared battles. And your resilience, your ability to adapt and persevere, is a collective strength. When the river doesn't rise as expected, or when the locusts descend, you don't just give up. You innovate, you pray, you pool your resources, and you endure. This quiet persistence, this stubborn refusal to be defeated by the vagaries of nature, is a defining characteristic of your people. It's what allowed Kush to weather centuries of change, adapting its farming practices to subtle shifts in climate and environment, always guided by the unchanging rhythm of the seasons and the life-giving Nile. Even as the great cities of Kush eventually faded, and new powers rose and fell across the ancient world, the essence of your quiet agricultural life persisted. The descendants of your community, though perhaps speaking different languages and practicing different faiths, would continue to work these same fertile lands, guided by the sun and the river, just as you do now. The skills, the knowledge, the deep connection to the earth, these are not things that disappear with the collapse of an empire. They are passed from hand to hand, from parent to child, an enduring legacy whispered through the rustling stalks of millet and the gentle flow of the Nile. You are a custodian of this timeless tradition, a living link in an unbroken chain stretching back into the mists of time and forward into the unknown future. Your quiet life, often unseen by the grand chroniclers of history, is the true, enduring monument of ancient Kush. It is a testament to the power of simplicity, the strength of community, and the profound wisdom of living in harmony with the land. And as the stars begin to prick the velvet sky, you feel a deep, abiding peace. Your work is done for the day, but the legacy of your quiet life continues, woven into the very fabric of the earth beneath you. Now, as the last remnants of the ancient Kushite sun finally fade from your mind's eye, allow yourself to drift. The smells of the fertile earth, the gentle sounds of the river, the distant hum of village life, let them soften, becoming mere whispers in the quiet stillness that surrounds you. You've walked through fields of millet and sorghum, felt the warmth of the sun on your skin, and understood the deep, quiet satisfaction of a life lived in harmony with the land. There's no need to hold on to those images tightly now. They are yours, a part of the stories you've collected, but it's time for them to gently recede, like the evening mist rising from the fields. Let your body relax, sinking deeper into the softness beneath you. The ancient world, with its rhythms and its wisdom, has shared its peace with you. Allow yourself to absorb that peace, that calm, that deep, reassuring sense of belonging that comes from understanding the enduring nature of life itself. The quiet lives of ancient Kush continue their timeless dance, not just in history, but in the gentle hum of your own breath, the steady beat of your heart. You are safe. You are warm. You are ready to rest. Let the quiet settle in, a soft blanket of tranquility. All is well.